Who am I? Why am I here? Two of the most fundamental questions humanity has been asking for centuries. It's in our DNA to discover who we truly are, carving out an identity that's both singular and part of our connection to the rest of humanity. Whether you believe in a God or not, the fact remains that our very identities are wrapped up in our destinies, why we even exist at all, our purpose. For each of the central characters in Moana, there are two selves. The self they present to the world because of societal expectations, and the self they really are within their hearts. In order for each of them to fulfill their destinies, they have to be reminded of the inner self, the real them. For Moana, her destiny is very much wrapped up in her identity, and the impulse is at her very core. From the first time we see her as a baby, she's fascinated with the water, drawn to it, and not afraid like her peers. In fact, she helps one of its creatures, a tiny sea turtle, get into the water where it belongs. This one moment foreshadows how she will eventually fulfill her destiny and do the same for her own people, leading them back to where they originally came from, the open sea. As Moana grows up, we see her constantly returning to the water, but her father forbids her to venture out, claiming that the island has all they need. It isn't until destruction is at their doorstep, and they have run out of options, that Moana begins her path to discovering her true identity and the destiny that goes along with it. Moana tries to be the dutiful daughter, preparing to become the next chief of her tribe, but all the while she feels pulled to the water. Her name literally means ocean in many Polynesian languages. If she wasn't supposed to go near the ocean, why the heck was she named after it? Nevertheless, she wants to please her parents and her people, so she continues on the path they've laid out for her. It's not until she tries and fails to go beyond the reef that her grandmother sees that she's ready to take a leap and follow her true path. Once Moana sees that her people were once voyagers on the high seas, she decides she can no longer deny her destiny and sets out to find Maui and return the heart. However, as you might imagine, it's not exactly easy to convince someone to give back something they stole. She faces many obstacles and nearly gives up after Maui abandons her, but her grandmother reminds her once again to listen to the voice inside her. Once she realizes that the outward pull of the ocean is actually a call to return to herself, she declares, "I am Moana," embracing the name as her true identity and the key to her destiny. She saves her people because she trusts in herself and the path that has been laid out for her. While she's successful in her task of delivering the heart back to Te Fiti, she's also successful as a mirror, reminding others who they really are as well. Maui also struggles to find his true self. When Moana first meets him, he's self-congratulating, egotistical, and completely wrapped up in and identified with his demigod status.
You're welcome.
In his You're Welcome song, he describes all the things he's done for humanity. Made islands, gave people fire, etc. But he crossed the line when he stole Te Fiti's heart. That was the heart of creation, the key to immortality, something reserved for the gods alone. As Tamatoa reveals, however, Maui isn't as tough and amazing as he seems. He has tattoos with all his accomplishments, making himself more appealing, which also inspires Tamatoa to do the same with his shiny shell. But as Tamatoa does it to attract food, because he's secretly terrifying, Maui has done what he's done so that humans will love him. A tattoo on his back shows his origin story. His parents abandoned him to the sea. He wasn't born a demigod. He was a human given powers by the gods. So, when those powers don't work, he has an identity crisis.
Sharkhead.
His hook is the symbol of his demigod status. He thinks he's nothing without it. Moana reminds him that he's human at his core, and what's driving him to do all these things isn't really fame, but affection. She also reminds him that the gods saw the power that already existed within him.
The gods aren't the ones who make you Maui. You are.
Once he realizes she's right, he's able to harness the true source of his power, himself, helping Moana restore the balance that he disrupted. You might not realize it at first glance, but even Hey the chicken struggles with knowing his true name and true purpose. While he acts as a humorous plot device, his appearance isn't without meaning. His name means disturbance or an interruption from the norm. To the casual viewer, Hei is just a stupid chicken who is apparently inadequate at even doing that right, constantly acting as a disturbance throughout Moana's journey. One of the first things we see him do is walk around with a bowl on his head, blind to his surroundings. This isn't by accident, but by design. Hei represents Moana's people and each stage of their predicament. This first instance shows that they're blind to the way things really are, and that if they continue in this way, it could mean death. Once Moana embarks on her journey, she discovers that Hei has also come along for the ride too. He responds in fear at the discovery that they're surrounded by water on all sides. Paralleling how her people feel about the ocean currently. Hei jumps into the water, resigning himself to a fate he thinks is inevitable by being on the ocean. But the ocean keeps returning him. He's just as important as Moana and Maui, and his destiny is wound up in their own. Nevertheless, he constantly has his head in the water, the sand, or under a bowl, refusing to deal with where he is or where he's going. Even when Maui puts down food for him, he can't even see what's right in front of him, pecking the empty space like Moana's people are harvesting from the same drained resources again and again. He has to be guided to eat, just like they need to be guided to a new way of thinking about the ocean. Hei continues this behavior throughout the film until Moana just flat out tells him what they need to do, but that she doesn't expect him to understand
Because you are a chicken.
It's almost as if he has an awakening about his identity, because then he starts acting less like a disturbance to Moana's journey and more like an assistant. He's a chicken, yes, and should act like one, but he's also the animal sidekick to a Disney princess, and they're supposed to help their human, not make their lives harder. Perhaps the most interesting identity crisis in Moana is that of Te Fiti. When Maui steals her heart, he's stealing her purpose, which was to create life. Without it, she becomes the opposite, a force of destruction. She has forgotten her true self, and in Moana returning it, she remembers that Taka is not who she really is. In that moving, beautiful scene where the ocean parts and Moana walks toward Taka with the heart in her hands, she sings a few lines mentioning,
I know your name.
In many ancient cultures, there's a concept in religion known as a true name, something that existed before language even, a living thing's true self. Those that know the true name of a god or other being have immense power over it and could harness that power. In Moana declaring she knows Taka's true name, she's able to wield power over the goddess, but also restores it to her through the heart. In a way, Moana does this for all the characters, Maui, Hei, and her people. In following her heart, she discovers her true identity and is able to remind everyone of their true names, restoring power to each of them in turn by reminding them who they all are. We all struggle with showing our true selves to the world, for fear of rejection, but it's important to stay true to yourself, because in identifying with your true self, you understand your true purpose in life.
Hey, I'm Justin,
And I'm Liana.
and thanks for watching The Big Picture, where we cover Moana, probably one of the best Disney movies in like a decade.
Yeah, Moana was amazing. Everything about it was great, especially the animation. I don't know how they made the water look so amazing.
It just looks so real.
And also the characters, especially the fact that they didn't insert a love story. It was really refreshing. And I know Frozen kind of did that too. So I'm glad that Disney's sort of moving in that direction of independent womanhood instead of like the other half of a man.
I also loved the grandma because she encouraged independent thought and decisions from Moana. Very often in these hero stories, you know, you have a guide to push the lead character into their destiny. Mm-hmm. But instead, she was like, no, do your own thing, do what you want. And I thought that was great. It made for an independent woman.
Right. So if you like what you saw and you want to see more, please subscribe to our channel. You can also just like this video, or we have a Patreon set up where you can donate as little as $1 per month.
Or if you want to donate a little bit more, you get some cool perks, like you get to talk to us one-on-one, you get previews of other videos, things like that. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.